Councilman Nickel.
Yeah, I've been pretty battered over the last few weeks on this matter since the last council decision, and I do have some questions, and I agree with my colleague, Mr. Mulvihill. I'm not necessarily opposed to this, but I do have some concern about the need to really digest this. This is a very, very consequential decision for our city, as was stated in the agenda item, in perpetuity. And I do not take that type of decision lightly, particularly given one weekend to review the information. I don't think that is sufficient to make a decision of this caliber in perpetuity. That said, I do have a question in regard to other cities that have encountered bankruptcy, or other cities in general. How many other cities have transferred their city fire department to a county fire district through annexation?
Many.
How many?
In the staff report, there's a paragraph that talks about how many cities are served this way, and there are dozens. So this is not an.
Are they cities that had fire departments and then annexed and then converted over?
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
And are these types of tax agreements commonplace?
Yes.
I have not had a chance to review what other cities have done in regard to these types of agreements to ensure that service levels remain stable. To address Councilman Mulvihill's concern, what if property tax revenues increase? Does that windfall go to the operator of that service, since we've made an agreement essentially in perpetuity? Again, I have not had an opportunity to really digest this, and as was stated on other matters, we have had some ample opportunity to really discuss and digest the pros and cons and all the various aspects of this particular agreement. But tonight, suddenly we're thrown into having to approve the allocation of tax revenue that currently comes to the city, that is rightfully the city's, and permanently transfer that to another entity. And that does trouble me.
Well, with respect to the city's recovery plan, clearly explained that this was a strategy. The application for annexation that was approved by this council in August explained that there would be a property tax transfer in perpetuity associated with this action. So and we've been briefing the council, as you know, as we've gone on a monthly basis, as we've developed this. The council was last briefed on the hearing that LAFCO held, which lasted 6 hours in this chamber. I know some of the council members attended. All of this was gone over in public. That group voted unanimously to go forward with the annexation. There seems to be a conception here that somehow this is either a contract, or that somehow that somehow the county is winning and the city is losing. This is not that at all.
I'm not saying that. We've had since Thursday to review this.
Oh no, that's fine.
I have 3 pages of questions that have been made by constituents, and tonight is the only opportunity we have before we vote. That's something in perpetuity, and that's the problem I have. I'm not questioning the nature of this agreement. I'm just raising concerns that have been brought to me as a council member, because we have not had the opportunity through workshops and other things to go through this matter. We've certainly discussed the recovery plan and other things, but now we're getting into the actual agreement to commit property tax revenue, and there are a lot of dimensions to this that I think warrant a clear understanding of what we are committing to, what are the obligations of the county. Question specifically, once we commit these funds to the county, what commitment does the county have to maintain the service levels delineated in the initial outline of service levels that have been provided in this agreement? Could they, in theory, reduce service levels and still retain that property tax revenue? What obligation do they have to maintain those levels, that level of safety, as our city attorney alluded to, once this is in fact completed?
My understanding is that if there are insufficient funds via the tax transfer, that the county itself will pay for the additional amounts necessary to maintain the level of service.
Okay, so the level of service is being guaranteed by the county.
Yes.
Where in the contract does it say?
Where does it say that?
This is not a contract. This is an annexation.
Okay, well, where in the annexation agreement does it say there is a guarantee?
I don't know. I would have to defer to someone for that.
Okay, well, these are questions that have been broached to me, and I'll be honest, I don't have good answers right now. And I've only had a few days over the weekend to go over those questions. So maybe, Kathy, if you could respond to that. Where in the annexation agreement are those service levels guaranteed?
Good evening, Kathleen Rawlings McDonald. I'm the executive officer of LAFCO. And it is not an annexation agreement. It is the resolution of approval which the commission reviewed and considered on January 27th. And one of the terms and conditions that was applied clearly includes the county's plan for service and its transition plan, which identifies the level of service, the operation of those specific stations, and the staffing of those stations.
And is that in perpetuity?
That is a term and condition that is recorded for this change of organization.
Okay, and that's in perpetuity?
That's the service level that's contemplated.
In perpetuity?
They get
yes or no? It's just very simple. Is it in perpetuity or not?
They are required.
I'm trying to get an answer because that's a question that's been broached to me and I don't have an answer.
You are proposing?
Yes. Thank you.
You are
very simple answer.
Well, you are proposing to annex to a separate entity and remove the obligation to provide that service.
Yeah. Well, the issue was brought up about safety, that this is about safety, and that implies that the service level will remain consistent with what has been anticipated. Thank you. Thank you for answering that question.
The answer is yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. A few other questions I have.
Are you done with me?
Yeah. Thank you. Possibly. I mean, you may have to answer some of these other questions. I don't know. Numerous areas of this agenda item talk about the permanent character of this agreement, that we are permanently allocating property tax revenue that will permanently go to fund these services. So just to be clear, this agreement that we are agreeing to tonight, this is an agreement, correct? That
yes.
We are more or less resolving to approve, is permanent in character. To get back to the question of the parcels, this applies to all parcels regardless of their zoning, regardless of their size or their value. It's a flat rate that's applied to all parcels, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it does not distinguish between commercial, high density, single family residential.
It's a parcel.
It's everything. Okay, all right. Okay, does this transfer of all city property tax revenue continue if such property tax revenue increases as a result of higher property tax revenue? So if the assessed values go up, we're still on the hook, or that money still goes to the county, right?
Yes.
The city never gets that money back, correct? Any increase that occurs in terms of assessed values in the city, that money forever goes to the county. It never comes back to the city, correct?
It goes to the county fire protection district for fire services within the city.
Okay.
So if things go well and the city's property taxes improve, the county fire protection district will be able to make additional investments, maybe reopen some of the closed stations, improve fire services within the city.
Can we get any guarantee of that?
Yes, because that's all they can do with the money. That's what they do. If the service plan actually is contemplated as what we can afford today, in the service plan it says quite clearly, to the extent that revenues improve, fire stations and fire services will be reopened.
Okay.
So one of the things that I would offer as I completely hear you, the perpetual nature of this, it's a very big decision. One of the advantages of annexation relative to a contract approach is that the county fire protection district, it's not the county, it's a separate government entity, is incented to encourage economic development within the city because the revenue stream that it depends upon to deliver fire services, and keep in mind, when there's a recession and their property tax values go down, they're still going to have to provide those fire protection services. They are the responsible party for fire protection services. And this is an agency with a track record. They have over almost 70 stations. They have 800 employees. They serve the city of Fontana, among others, which is a city similar in size to San Bernardino. So the fact of the matter is that when property taxes increase, the county fire protection district will benefit, and the citizens of San Bernardino will benefit because they will get improved fire and EMS services.
And if revenues go down, we still get the same service level.
If revenues,
the county has to eat the difference.
It's not the county fire protection district is going to have to do make the same kind of decisions that the city council makes. They're going to have to balance the services that they need to deliver.
That's different from what was just told to us, that we have a guarantee of service level. So if we aren't getting a guarantee of service level, then part of me is saying, well, then what is the benefit?
Well,
Other than a property tax, parcel tax that gets kicked in to offset general fund.
And I probably
That's really the only real benefit.
Well, I think the county, that is a very significant benefit.
Okay, and if costs go up, would we be subject to perhaps having to kick in money to ensure service levels if they decide to reduce service levels?
No, the city wouldn't be required to kick in money.
Okay. All right.
I just have a comment. Probably you can be